Now, in our next news story here, we covered Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday, and there was a snippet that we did leave out that I want to cover because I think it's important. It goes in conjunction with the new inflation numbers that just came out. It started at 9.1, went down to 8.5, and now we're at 8.3. If you recall, in the 8.5 data, because it went down from 9.1 to 8.5, that's when you had Joe Biden, Karine Jean-Pierre taking to Twitter, and a bunch of other White House admins saying, oh, look, 0% inflation. And they got freaking shellacked and whipped upside the head for saying such an idiotic statement when it was 8.5. They're kind of doing something similar here where they're saying that it's flat, where it went down from 8.5 to 8.3. That's kind of a gimmick and a misrepresentation. By saying that it's flat, you could almost say in another phrase of, well, it's 0%, nothing changed, it's flat, right? So rather than saying it's zero because they got shellacked, now they're saying it's flat. Now, inflation is still 8.3%, meaning you're paying on average 8.3% higher for certain goods and services on average than you were just a year before. Furthermore, fuel prices have come down, which is a good thing. We can all agree that is a very good thing. But the problem is that they're saying that as fuel prices come down, our services and goods are going up as well. So you're paying more for energy, like not gas, but just energy in general, like your utilities. You're paying more for natural gas, clean energy. You're paying more for goods and services. So other things are going up, but you have fuel prices going down, which is where they're saying that it's coming flat. You're still paying way more. Mind you, they've been boasting about this Inflation Reduction Act for how long now? And oh, that's so great, and everybody's gonna love it, and all Democrats are on board. It's bipartisan, and all this other stuff, yada yada yada. Well, we finally have a reporter doing her job and asking questions. So, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was tripped up on Tuesday over how the Inflation Reduction Act will accomplish inflation reduction. It's been everybody's question because this is what they were peddling and pushing. Turns out, hasn't really done the job it said it was going to do. Earlier in the day, the Bureau of Labor Statistics pushed the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, for August, showing a 0.1% inflation increase from July, a worrying sign, especially amid dropping gas prices. The figures showed inflation grew 8.3% year over year. Even worse, so-called core inflation, which excludes food and energy costs, grew 0.6%. So no matter which way you look at this thing, it ain't looking good. And like I said, she gets questioned here by a reporter during the White House press briefing. Let's go ahead and roll that.
Around. Go ahead, and then I'll come back.
What exactly would the Inflation Reduction Act do to reduce inflation in the short term?
So when you look at the lowering costs in particular for Americans, I think that's important when you think about how inflation has increased costs for Americans. If you think about the $100 saving about $100 per year on premiums with ACA, when you think about lowering costs for our seniors, capping that at $2,000 a year instead of thousands and thousands of dollars a month, that lowering of cost as we deal with a time.
Jesus, you guys, we're not even through the answer in air quotes for that's listening. This is what BSing looks like. Okay, a lot of us are good at BSing. A BSer can call it a BSer, folks. This is some next level, just terrible at her job. She doesn't have a clue. The Democrats don't have a clue. They just push through this stuff because they love spending your money. They love throwing money out the door left and right. We're over $30 trillion. Yes, you heard me correctly, folks. $30.8 trillion in debt. And this is the stuff they're pushing and peddling and can't give a simple answer to a simple question.
That is difficult for many Americans. Look, experts, economists has said themselves that this would be the Inflation Reduction Act would be beneficial to that extra $300 billion in deficit. That is really important as we have right now $1.7 billion in deficit deduction under this administration. It would help lower that even more, which is incredibly important. And so, look, we've heard from Republicans and Democrats who were U.S. Treasury secretaries who said it would lower inflation. We've heard from more than 126 economists said it would lower inflation. And so I think that is also an important fact that we point to when we talk about the importance of the Inflation Reduction Act, the importance of lowering costs for American families, even as you look at the energy costs as well.
But some of the savings that you're pointing to wouldn't kick in until 2024 or 2026. So is it fair to suggest to people that somehow they're going to see some inflation reduction right now while they're hurting the most?
Well, that is actually...
I just want to pause it really quick. The main question was, how is inflation going to be basically dropped or reduced in the short term? She gave a long, rambling, cockamamie, diarrhea answer that never answered the question whatsoever. There was an answer to a question that was never asked. This lady here, reporter, forgive me, I don't know her name or what outlet she's with, basically takes that same question, rephrases it, and still is putting it in the short-term area in terms of, well, what's going to happen in the short term for inflation to reduce. I mean, I don't even know if she's going to give an answer here, but let's find out what this lady has to say now.
Not true. So this is just for some folks who are watching. Consumers, families, and small businesses owners can head to cleanenergy.gov as it relates to the energy cost component, the lowering of cost, to learn more about how they can start saving money immediately thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, tax credits and rebates. That is real. Inflation Reduction Act credits and rebates available today include a 30% credit to cover the cost of installing rooftop solar, up to 10% credit to cover the cost of insulation materials and other energy efficient improvements like energy savings, windows and doors, a $300 tax credit for purchasing efficient heating and cooling equipment like a heat pump or central air conditioner, a tax credit of up to $7,500 for purchasing a new electric vehicle. All of these things could happen and are available to folks. Those rebates are available to folks. Those tax credits are available to folks today. I'm going to go around.
You got to have money to buy it, Karine. We're in an inflation right now. Hello? Well, you can get a rebate if you go buy a brand new car, a brand new energy vehicle. Hey, why don't you go get some new roofing right now? Because that's a good idea. While people are struggling just to put bread on their table, buy freaking eggs that are up like 30%. They are so far removed from the American public, folks. It is mind-boggling. I wanted to play that clip for you because I really want to see and show all of you how bad she is at her job. I know that you guys know. I know we talk about it all the time. But for the love of God, have you seen anybody worse? We thought Jen Psaki was bad. I called it. Go back to our old videos, folks. I'm giving myself some praise here. I said she was going to suck. I said she was going to be worse than the lady. Case in point, what we just saw. A bunch of BS. $180,000 the American taxpayers paying her, plus pension and benefits, to do this. I think she gets a pension. She definitely gets benefits, but $180,000 to do that job? For sweet love of God. So there you have it. Karine Jean-Pierre just manipulating, spinning stories, lying to you once again, and just bullshitting you straight to your face, and not a lack of care in the world for doing so. Look, if you're going to BS somebody, at least be good at it. You know what I mean? At least show me that you put some thought behind it. Like if you're going to lie to my face, at least make it good. You know what I mean? Put some effort into it, like you studied up on the subject just a tiny bit. Maybe some big words. She didn't do any of that. She was trying to just think on her feet as if she's never talked about the Inflation Reduction Act. As if she thought, you know what? The numbers just came out. Nobody's going to ask me about how the Inflation Reduction Act doesn't actually reduce inflation because the numbers just went up. You got to be an idiot, right? You got to know that question's coming. In the same way, when you had Kamala Harris come out and say that the border was secure, you got to know that Fox News or some sort of other reporter was going to question you on it, right? It was a layup one. You got to be prepared for it. And she gave a terrible answer to that as well. A terrible answer to that as well. So it's as if she's not preparing for her job, or she is preparing and she just still sucks at it. I don't know, folks. But there you have it. That's the latest from Karine Jean-Pierre. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.